Hey everybody, welcome back. I haven't seen you guys for like a whole week now. What? Why was that? I don't know. Maybe it's something to do with my birthday. It's a pretty sad balloon, isn't it? It's kind of been in here for over a week now. So, a couple weeks ago, I did a video. Pokemon the first movie, errors. Woo, we talked about all of the errors that happened in that movie. One of the more popular comments on that video was, "Yo, bro, do Pokemon the movie 2000." It was said just like that, I swear. So I was like, dang, Pokemon the movie 2000, kind of my favorite Pokemon film. Let's talk about some errors. Before the main feature film even begins, we have something called Pikachu's Rescue Adventure. Now in Pikachu's Rescue Adventure, Pikachu and gang do little fun Pokemon stuff and they rescue things and, you know. But within this, there's a thing. The thing is called the Dance of the Blossom. It's where Blossom dance and other various vegetational Pokemon and some water things. Within this scene, though, there is a Poliwhirl. Poliwhirl, you know, the second one in the Poliwrath chain. Yeah, it hops out of the water and it yells Poliwrath.
Poliwrath.
Starting off real strong. Hopping into the main movie itself, when Lawrence first sits down, the computer analyzes the 3 Titan Pokemon, which are actually called gods in the Japanese version. When it analyzes the 3 Titan Pokemon, Zapdos, Articuno, and Moltres, the computer tells Lawrence and the audience that these Pokemon are unique to the Orange Islands. That's funny, because Zapdos, Moltres, and Articuno have never reappeared in the series outside of this movie. Ever. Not once. The first time we see Ash and gang, they're being boated to Shamudi Island by Marin, who is a friend of theirs that they met during the Orange Island saga of the anime. At the start of the scene of the festival banquet, you see the camera pan past Marin, the chief elder, and Melody's older sister. You get to hear a part of her conversation and she's making a joke. Now this joke actually has to do with an STD.
And she says, no, but I have crabbies.
Now, Krabby is already plural, as are most Pokemon. Look, there's 1 Pikachu, there are 2 Pikachu, 4 Pikachu, 1,000 Pikachu. It's all plural. But this word is made plural in order to make the joke resemble the STD crabs in a Pokemon film. Technically done on purpose, but still technically an error. As the environment gets thrown out of whack due to Articuno, Moltres, and Zapdos being all angry and shit, we get a call from Professor Ivy. Now in the background, you see Brock running back and forth with a couple Pokemon doing a handful of chores. He grabs a Paris and he has a Nidorina. Now these Pokemon are normal colored, and you may be asking yourself, well, what's wrong with that? Well, Professor Ivy lives on Valencia Island. All of the Pokemon on Valencia Island are supposed to be colored differently than normal due to the tropical environment that they're brought up in. So, having seen a normal Nidorina and a normal Paris in the background, that shouldn't be possible at Professor Ivy's establishment. When Melody and Misty first meet, ooh, Melody, best girl. Melody makes a remark to Misty, well, a handful of remarks, but one remark in particular. She says,
Oh, and Misty, try not to get jealous.
Which is referencing the fact that Misty's all flustered whenever Melody comes out to talk to Ash. The problem is, at this point in the film, only Ash has introduced himself. Therefore, no one should have known what Misty's name was. Now, this next one isn't an error with the film itself, but an error in the continuity of the series in the future. When Pikachu and Zapdos are communicating with each other through electricity, Meowth is able to translate it. However, in the episode A Shockingly Cheeky Friendship, Pikachu and Dedenne talk to each other the same way that Zapdos and Pikachu do in the movie. However, this time, Meowth has no idea what they're saying. This next one's frankly just a little bit embarrassing from the production team's point of view. During one point in the movie, Professor Oak is on a helicopter flying to the Orange Islands. During this flight, he's being interviewed about what the possible issue is and why everything's going out of whack. Well, when I talk, my mouth moves. Not the dude next to me.
Was somehow disrupted. It's conceivable that a powerful underwater current, this churning beast of the sea, could in fact emerge from this region and ultimately flood the entire planet.
There are also a few scenes during the movie where a bunch of miscellaneous Pokemon are making their way over towards where Ash and the gang and all of this trouble is occurring. The problem is, we get a scene where a bunch of Pokemon are swimming. They're swimming to come help. They're swimming through the water. Ekans is part of this group of Pokemon that are swimming. Now, while yeah, snakes can swim, there are a lot of snakes that can swim. Ekans can't learn surf. In fact, the only water move it learns is Rain Dance, which makes it seem like it would be pretty hard for it to like surf on the water, but I don't know. Whatever. This next one, I don't know. I don't think this is such a big deal, but there's one point at which Ash's sled gets turned upright and he calls back Charizard. If you look carefully at his hand, there's no Pokeball in it. They just show his hand come up and call it back into it. It looks good. It looks fine, especially while everything's moving. I guess it's a little bit nitpicky, but there technically is no Pokeball there. And the whole reason we lost Brock was because Ash visited Professor Ivy in order to collect the GS ball in the Orange Islands so that he could bring it back to Professor Oak, correct? Well, at the end of the film, after Professor Oak's helicopter has crashed and he comes out with Ash's mom and they go and they meet and they're like, oh, I love you. You know, he could have just been like, yo, Professor Oak, here's your Pokeball. This is what I'm supposed to deliver to you. Isn't this convenient? Also, if you look at the movie poster for the film, it's got Ash standing right in the middle, holding up a Pokeball, all, you know, Ash-like. Except you can see his undershirt in this photo, but what's weird about that is not that he has an undershirt on, he always has an undershirt. But that undershirt is always black, and in the movie poster, it appears to be white. And finally, the biggest mistake of all isn't an animation error. It was actually just an oversight by Lawrence III. This dude releases Ash and gang on his flying fortress with his prized collection Pokemon just so they have an opportunity to flip everything up. Why would you do that? What were you thinking? Ugh. Alright guys, that's about it for what I found as far as errors go in this film. Tell me if I missed anything. Tell me if you guys were like, well, I'm really glad this is the last one he's gonna do, because I'm not sure if this is the last one I'm gonna do. There's a couple more movies that actually kind of have some cool stuff in them, but anyway, doesn't matter. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Talk to you later. Have an awesome possum afternoon, and see you in the ending credits.